Today's video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. You know, I tried going straight to jail once. They said I was too gay. Hi, ugly. It's me, Bus Vira, and welcome back to Hot or Rat. And today we'll be reviewing episode 3 of RuPaul's Drag Race season 17. In today's episode, our budding landlords were challenged to create looks that screamed Monopulence, inspired by, of course, the iconic board game Monopoly. With the twist being, cause y'all wanted a twist, eh? That the queens had to share their monochromatic materials with other queens who also drew their same colored property cards. So we'll be going queen by queen to break all that down, plus covering the many dramatic moments from this episode and Untucked, including Hormona versus Kori and Joella, Onya versus Jules, and Joella versus whoever it happens to be that she's talking to in Untucked. The girls are fighting! So this episode starts off with the girls coming in pretty hot off of the back of the anticlimactic non-elimination double premiere. With several of the girls, it appears, being pressed that Hormona is still in the competition. And we hear Hormona directly call out Kori King for not looking too happy that Hormona is still there. To which Kori admits that yes, she wanted to see the competition dwindle. To which we hear Hormona respond in a confessional saying about Kori that she's not worried about Kori and her bumpy zippers. And this quickly spirals out of control as the queens are taking turns addressing their drama from the previous episode, and Lana brings up that she's still upset with Joella because of how Joella addressed her after she watched Lana's talent show, where you'll remember that directly to Lana's face, Joella said that she didn't like the performance. And all Joella really has to say about this is that at least she was fair and rate a queen. But almost out of nowhere, Hormona jumps into this to take a jab at Joella, where she says, "Did you have to hold up your wig and rate a queen then too?" They're addressing the fact that Joella has been actively fidgeting with her wig that's kind of falling off her head at this point. To which we hear Joella respond to Hormona saying, "I would have glued it down if I had to lip sync like you." Where Hormona then takes a jab at Joella's uneven hem and tag sticking out of the back, and it all finishes with Joella saying, "Fix your mug." The girls are fighting! They really are vicious this season, and I'm living. And the other bit of drama before we get into the thick of this episode comes from Miss RuPaul Charles herself, because after she does her workroom walkthrough, she pulls out from her back pocket the Rate a Queen document that has all the voting receipts. And most of what's in this binder isn't news to us as audience members, because we were kind of clued into the alliance of Lana and Arrietty already. And we had seen confessionals from Lydia where she was saying she wasn't living for Sam Starr's performance. But it was really fun to watch the queens go through the receipts and call each other out. And what I'm really interested in is seeing how the cliques of this cast develop further as production continues to very obviously fan the flames of drama between them. And now, in the order they hit the boardwalk, shake the dice and forget Santino Rice. It's Lucky Starzzz, who along with Hormona and Lexi Love found herself in the orange property group. And unfortunately for Miss Lucky, this design challenge was just not her cup of tea. But it looks like she really put some good thought and effort into what she wanted to accomplish with this dress. I like those pleated orange satin details and how that lace is lining the top and bottom hems of this dress. And Lucky is, as we learned, someone who doesn't sew at all. This was all done with hot glue, and that I think is worth a little bit of props to you, mama. There are though just too many technical issues I think with this look. The cut is wrong, the shape is kind of off, and the accessories aren't really enhancing this look. Like that short glove maybe should have been an opera. And the pearl necklace situation is just not, you know, enough pearls for me at least. I think she also really missed the mark on hair and makeup here, and the presentation of her drag neck up really is just giving first time in drag baby queen realness. This look is definitely a rot, but it really broke my heart to see this look from her because we know how creative she is and how sickening her looks can be. I think had she have focused on really nailing the aesthetic neck up, this could have been a presentable garment. Because after all, it was at least more than a bodysuit. And next up, it's Hormona Lisa. And one of her big dramas with her look this episode is that she apparently attached a bunch of crystals to the gown that she brought from home. But Lexi Love apparently called her out for doing this, which caused her to remove all of those crystals to be in line with the rules of the brief. Sneaky, sneaky. Concerning the look she created, I was actually impressed with what she had even without the crystals. I think the shape and silhouette is big, extravagant, and opulent. That trumpet skirt is really great. I love how she layered the orange fabrics. And I think she's got a great eye for clean lines and understands her aesthetic. This gown very much says money, opulence, and extravagance, but is yes missing, I think, a little bit of bling bling, which apparently really wasn't her fault because I didn't see a lot of bling in the orange box. And so I do understand why she was trying to bend those rules. I am gonna give this look a high She really owned the board with this look. But here is the proper tea. When you use the internet without a VPN, your internet browsing activity is basically up for sale to the highest bidder. But with Surfshark, your internet traffic becomes encrypted, anonymized, and secured in a private VPN tunnel quicker than you can passgo and collect $200. And Surfshark can also help you get out of internet jail. Virtually change your location to any one of their over 3,200 secure servers around the globe, and unblock news, social media, and even spicy websites that may be restricted in your home state or country. And of course, unlock geo-restricted content on streaming platforms like every season of Rupaul's Drag Race. Oh, and best of all, Surfshark can be used on all of your devices with unlimited device login. So what are you waiting for? Don't let anyone monopolize your internet freedom. Get Surfshark right now by visiting surfshark.com/Bussy. And as part of my special deal for you, get 4 extra months of Surfshark when you do. Thanks Surfshark for sponsoring today's video. And the tea is, Hormona Lisa apparently wasn't the only one to use rhinestones brought from home. Miss Toot herself was exposed for getting away with this on Twitter after the episode aired. In a now deleted tweet, Miss Suzie Toot wrote, "Oh, y'all should have been there when Lexi let Hormona have it. God, I wish the cameras were up." To which Hormona replies, "She did not let me, quote, have it." And where she also replied to that same tweet, writing, "Loved the stones on your little headpiece. Diamond emoji, diamond emoji, diamond emoji." And in this same thread, we see an ex-user respond to Hormona Lisa's tweet, writing, "If anything, she was helping you from getting into trouble." To which Hormona replies, "That's literally not it either, LOL." And later that evening, Hormona tweeted 2 separate times about this situation. The first time writing, quote, "Let her have it? I don't think." And the second time writing in a now deleted tweet, "Who also used rhinestones brought from home? Clock it, heart emoji." And then the next day, Lexi Love took to Twitter to clear everything up, writing, "Let me set the record straight. Suzie also broke the rules with Hormona, and I called both of them out. However, Hormona was the only one that brought it up once we were filming. Secondly, the stones on my fit were from the challenge table. Clock it?" And to this tweet, we see an ex-user write, "Keep on snitching," to which Lexi responds, "Get yourself together. Hormona snitched on herself." And next up, let's see how big this hoe can go. It's Lexi Love, who has made for us today a little lacy orange mini dress with some feathered embellishments. And Miss Girl, this little dress barely covers the between me down there's, but damn does she look good in this. And the gag of her look, I think to try to tap into that opulence brief, is to include the roll of fabric as a train. She literally hits the runway, roll in hand, and then just chunks it to the back and then starts walking down the runway. And while I wouldn't say this look minus the fabric train is the most opulent of the night, I mean, it's a hoochie mama dress, I did really enjoy the presentation of what she was doing. So I'm gonna give Miss Lexi Love a safe hot here. Also just gotta say, I am falling more and more in love with this queen every single episode. She made another She Devil by Night reference in her confessionals when she was talking about Sam Starr, saying she was worried that Sam Starr would be riddled with She Devil by Night influence, but is ultimately glad that Sam isn't, and that she actually is quite the fan of Sam. As to whether or not she's a fan of Miss She Devil by Night, I think the jury's still out. And next up, the devil's in the details, it's Miss Suzie Toot, who says she's giving us some Betty Boop as the princess of hell realness, and is the first queen in our red property group, which also includes Arrietty and Lana. And I really enjoyed this look from Miss Toot tonight because A, I always love a good devil reference, but also B, because I think she really hit the nail on the head with this 20s, 30s era styling, like with the length and the back of the gown gently dropping. I also love these like red tendril details, which are kind of wrapping around her body like flame tendrils, and thought it was really crafty of her to have been able to make this headpiece in addition to this gown. I think this look though was missing one tiny layer of opulence. I'm not sure if she had the ability to make anything else given the materials in her box, but I think a little bit of train on the dress, a handbag, or even a pitchfork, I don't know, might have really amped the opulence level up here. Overall though, I'm gonna say this look was hot as hell. And next up, are you ready? It's Arrietty, who says she's giving us Real Housewives of Mexico City. And in this episode talks about how she's leaning more into the Latin side of her drag versus the alien side. And y'all don't need me to tell you, but this look is absolutely gorgeous head to toe and screams opulence, excess, and too muchness. From all those beaded talismans carefully placed into her wig, to those disconnected poof sleeves that have their own attached piece of fabric that is draping behind her, to like the crazy cut of this gown and all of the fabric, and it's really cool, everything about this. Arrietty so far is the queen of aesthetic, and this look is hot. And next up is Lana, who's serving us a little red velour mini dress with some draping details on the collar, and I think she has created what appears to be a scarf of some sort that's going around the neck. And did you peep it? She's got those same little red beaded talismans embellishing her dress that Arrietty had in her hair. And the thing is, as she says, she always looks pretty and put together in her drag because she is very pretty and put together. Like, she is a model. But for this runway brief of opulence, I wasn't really getting enough extravagance from this dress because it was pretty, but I think a little understated. And if she was gonna go so simple on the embellishments, I think it might have been smarter to go for a floor length with a little bit of a train or something. Because the way she has embellished this with those beaded talismans looks a little bit like an afterthought. And so I would say this is definitely not a bad look at all. She looks good, but it's just not really totally hitting the brief for me. So I'm gonna give this a soft rat. And next up, in case you forgot, it's Acacia Forgot, who is the first queen in our yellow group, which also includes Kori King and Lydia Butthole Kollins, who says she's giving us some trashy Bridesmaids Dynasty realness, and I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I really enjoyed this dress, which is shocking to hear myself say because I usually do not like country aesthetic things, like that is my arch nemesis, but I can really appreciate the details she put into this with those yellow layered ruffles going all down the dress, including those cap sleeves, and I like how she took that pasty detail on her chest and also applied that onto the shoe. What really got me here though was the hair and makeup, because that blush is killing me. Not softly, hardly. And I am just hoping and praying to the country gods that somebody in that workroom can help her with that blush before she leaves, because that is crazy. This look I think is really only missing some opulent styling elements, like a big chunky crystal necklace would have been great for this brief, and some kind of fascinator or accessory, like so many other queens did successfully tonight, really would have taken this to the next level. But as is, I'm gonna leave this with a safe hot. And next up, shake that ice, it's Kori King, who's giving us her favorite big yellow furry bird, but make it ho. And honestly, can I say something bold and brave? I don't think this was a bottom look. I think Kori did a pretty decent job at creating a garment that works for her drag and also taps into the opulence brief, like with that fascinator that has feathers and jewels, and even like the birdcage purse she's carrying around. I'd honestly think she was more victim of the color of this dress in that cut than anything else, because there were many other queens who had cuts this short or shorter and didn't get called out for it. And honestly, I think if they were looking for a certain minimum length of dress, then maybe they should have specified that in the brief. But this look I think is giving a certain level of opulence, at least enough to satisfy what was asked, and so I'm gonna give this look a safe hot. And next up, it's Lydia Butthole Kollins, who's giving us Muppet with a hint of Horton Hears a Hoe. And this look is a lot. And let me firstly say, I really appreciate the technical details of the rouging and how she's layered that yellow satin fabric with that yellow feathers. And it really is just kind of a longer, more complex and overwhelmed version of the red dress that she wore last week on the runway. But girl, this look is not just dripping in rouge, she is drowning in it. This is so much cumbersome fabric that she's having trouble twisting around on the runway and walking in different directions. And part of this could be the horrible stage lighting that's going on, but especially in the chest area, it just looks like layers and layers and layers of yellow strips and drapes and sleeves and fur and more rouging and more rouging and more rouging. And for this opulence brief, I think she had the right idea for all these layers of details. However, I think she just needed to edit this look a little bit because it was too much as presented. So I'm gonna have to give this look a soft rat. And next up, we've got Joella. Don't forget the Ella. Is the first girl in our green group, which also includes Onya, Nurve, and Jewel Sparkles. And honestly, my first thought was that for a bodysuit, this look is pretty good. I really like that kind of snake skin element that's going on with those emerald green patches all over the bodysuit. And I really like how she zhuzhed it up with the big flowy green trains on the shoulder and on the hip. And if there was one thing I hated about this look, it is that shoe. Oh my God, that shoe. That is not opulent, mama. That is rot embodied in footwear. But really the only issue with this look, I think, is that it's a bodysuit. And Rupaul kind of told her to her face in the workroom walkthrough not to do this. And she did it anyways. As well, I don't think Joella's look is bad. I actually think it's kind of cute. It's just reading more swimwear eleganza than it is opulence 1920s, 1930s glamour, which it's not reading at all. And because she didn't meet the brief, I'm gonna give this a rat. And next up, feeling bothered? it's Onya Nurve, who found herself in quite the kerfuffle this week with Jules Sparkles. And not just a kerfuffle, but like a full 2.5 minutes of her and Jules going back and forth over this like strip of jeweled trim that's not even that cute, and who it belonged to or not. But honestly, I was living for every second of this fight because it was so stupid and so fun. But basically what had happened was Jules and Onya, being in the same group, were sharing materials. And earlier in the day, while they were making their looks, Onya had asked Jules if she was using said decorative trim, to which Jules says, yes, I do plan to use this. But at some later point, Onya apparently grabbed this trim without Jules noticing and used it anyways. And so Jules is relaying the events that had transpired the previous day to Arrietty. And Onya Nurve, who's sitting one chair away from them, overhears this conversation and jumps in. And obviously she's mad that Jules isn't just talking directly to her and is instead gossiping about her behind her back. But she does then apologize for what happened and says that she should have asked. To which Jules responds, you did ask, and I said I was using it. Which then puts Onya on the defense, where she says, that's the thing, the trim was not yours to own. Which then later goes on to explain that basically she felt her dress was very simple and needed the embellishments, whereas Jules's dress was more complex and technically proficient and didn't need the embellishments, and so she felt that the embellishments were hers to take. Or in her words, I have a basic ass gown that I needed to embellish, and I'm not about to ask some bitch for something we are supposed to be sharing. And several of the girls like Crystal kind of chime in seemingly on Jules's side, saying that Jules had it first, therefore it was hers to use. But I will play a little devil's advocate here and say that I think from a competitive standpoint, Onya Nurve was in the right, because with the crown of $200,000, the means justify the ends. And if she were ready to use something on a dress and finish up her dress and Jules was not ready to use that item, maybe that was Jules's loss. But on the other hand, from the standpoint of being a good sport in this competition, it was definitely the wrong thing to do to take somebody else's materials who you knew plans to use it. And Jules kind of has the last line in this back and forth where she says to Onya, you have your moment because you're not gonna have too many more of them. Spicy, the girls are fighting. The final look Onya presents on the runway, she says she put her whole soul into, and speaks about how opulence reminds her of her grandma's house and is about how you carry yourself ultimately. And I'll say of all the queens on that stage, she did one of the best jobs of acting out the character of opulence, and through the lens of like ball culture and serving a specific style, look, or category, she achieved opulence. And it really was those accessory details that pushed her to the next level and allowed her to play this character, like the cigarette holder, the giant hair head wrap, and the jacket train she's dragging down the runway. Obviously though, this look wasn't technically perfect, and she clearly isn't the best seamstress there. I think actually she said this was the first gown she ever created, but I actually think there's lots to be proud of here because she created a dress that fits with a cute little trumpet skirt, and the head wrap over the wig or whatever is under that going on up there is really cool. This look was extravagant, too much, and over the top, literally. So I'm gonna give this a hot. And next up, it's Jules Sparkles, who on the runway is rouged from her head wrap all the way down to her ankles. And this is one of those, oh, I can barely walk, but it's skin tight and I'm so sexy dresses that I think she looks really good in. And y'all wanna talk about rouging something? Like, she really went over the top and under the hill with this one. Like, this is crazy. And also want to point out, she apparently did get some of the trim and embellish she wanted to use, because there it is down the front center of her dress going all the way from top to bottom. And so where she wanted to put the rest of it, I'm not really sure, but I really don't think the look was lacking without it, because she had enough other jeweled details in all of the very many rouges of this dress to make it glamorous and pretty. My only issue with this look is the cone bra. I think those are really hard to pull off, and they have to be the right proportion to pull them off. And these have a weird shape and a weird proportion. But that's a small detail, and I'm still gonna give this look a hot. And next up, it's a bird. No. It's a plane. No. It's Sam Starr, who is the first in our blue group, which also includes Crystal Envy. And Miss Sam Starr says she is giving us some over-the-top, sparkly, fabulous Mae West old Hollywood realness in this look, and yes, she absolutely is. This was another queen who heard the word opulence and understood exactly what the definition was. She was so smart, I think, to choose every sparkly item in that box and make it work, from the sequin top part of the gown down to the feathers and tinsel bottom. But she was brilliant in the way she accessorized it with the hat, the jewels draping off of the shoulder, the little fan she's carrying that also has the feather details on the edge of that. This is decadence, this is excess, this is over the top, this is opulence. This is what the judges were looking for. This look is a hot. And lastly on the runway in our richest property group, it's Crystal Envy. And y'all, this look is gorgeous. And actually, I think not considering the brief is my favorite on the runway. It's so chic and styled so well. I just love how beautifully that velvet dress fits and those gorgeous blue bows on both sides. And I love the head wrap detail. This look is very much giving me like old money that doesn't want to flaunt their wealth very much, which is sort of the like thematic opposite of what was asked for them. And so I can understand why she wasn't selected for a top placement tonight. But oh my God, is this look gorgeous? It's like old money wife of the president politician glamour, like very Grey Gardens, but make it beautiful fashion. And I'm definitely gonna give this look a hot. But I did deduct the one flame because of it not really hitting that opulent, over-the-top, excessive brief. Which brings us to our placements this episode, where we've got Onya, Nurve, Arrietty, and Sam Starr called out as the top 3. And Sam and Arrietty aren't really surprising here at all to me, but I do think the judges picking Onya gagged everyone, because instead of looking for more technical proficiency or well-cut or well-styled looks, they instead really focused hard on the brief of opulence. And I think too many of the queens didn't have exactly what the judges were looking for in the forefront of their minds when they were creating their looks today, and were instead more focused on just trying to create something that worked for them. Because like obviously, as we discussed, and even as the queens discussed in their little mini Untucked moment, Onya's dress wasn't the most technically proficient, and certainly if you saw it just hanging on a rack, you wouldn't think much of it. But I will also say, I think her placement there in the top was a little bit of production pot stirring going on, because the producers can see and are probably helping produce a lot of the drama we've seen so far, like for example Trimgate, and saw an opportunity here to get Onya into the top to maybe ruffle some feathers of queens like Jules. And even more so than creating drama between the queens, I think putting Onya in the top was a message to all of the other queens who went a little understated. A message that was intended to say, hey, you may be technically really good at what you're doing, but you also have to show us that charisma element on the runway and really serve exactly what we're looking for. And then when this episode goes to Sam Starr, which of our top 3 and really of all the queens given the brief, I support. And the bottom queens this week are called out as Lucky Stars, Joella, and Kori King. But before we talk about the Lucky versus Joella lip sync, I have to bring up the Joella drama in Untucked, who is understandably having a little bit of an emotional moment, realizing that she's about to have to lip sync and could go home. But this emotional moment is probably one of the most unserious breakdowns I think we have ever seen in a Drag Race Untucked moment, because through the tears, she's explaining that she's so upset because she's scared for the girls back home to see how she's doing in the competition, because she is opulent and she is known for her looks. Going on to say that not doing well in the show was one of her biggest fears, because it's so often that somebody who's an icon in their local drag scene comes on the show and disappoints. It do take nerve. Y'all, I'm like really obsessed with her Untucked moments. She is giving us good TV. But that's not all, because she also goes up to Lucky in this Untucked before they're about to lip sync against each other and has this one-on-one with her where she looks Lucky in the eyes and says, I feel confident in the fact that I'm going to be here next week. To which Lucky just kind of looks at her and says, okay, which is just so diabolical of Joella to do. Like, that is wild. Again, though, it do take nerve. Meanwhile, we've got Kori and Lana over in their corner of Untucked talking about how they can't wait for Joella to go home. Which brings us to the Joella versus Lucky lip sync to Paula Abdul's The Way That You Love Me. And concerning Lucky's lip sync, we do learn she's a pretty good performer. She's got some great little camp moments and crazy facial expressions that she incorporates into this lip sync, and I enjoyed what she did. But she lost her shoes really quickly, and that was a big mistake for her, because the aesthetic was already such an issue in this episode. To also lose your shoes was just a rotten cherry on top of an already rotten cake. But that didn't stop her from doing a little bit of voguing down the runway and death dropping at the end. What she gave, though, just wasn't quite enough power and control. Whereas what Joella did, I'm gonna be honest, she really turned it out. She had a really great stage presence and stood front and center, doing her little dance moves, scooting, booting, some of these, some of those. Which is all to say, I think Joella ate down in this lip sync and absolutely deserved the win here. But before Lucky Stars is asked to sashay away, RuPaul, of course, gives her one more chance with the twist of the season, because y'all wanted a twist, eh? And Miss Lucky tries her look one last time this season in pulling a lever, which ultimately does not dunk Michelle Visage into the badunk-a-dunk tank. But just for pulling a lever, she does win a trip to Vegas, which I guess they're going to be giving to all of the girls that pull the levers this season. But as Bruce says, I guess losing is the new winning. And finally, let's talk hottest hats. Now, I kind of already hinted at this, but if I were to pick a look to take to my grave, it would be Crystal Envy's Easy. But for the brief, for what the judges asked them to do, serve opulence, I've got to give it to Sam Starr. And I also asked my patrons to vote on their hottest hots, and this week they've chosen Arrietty. And I want to say thanks again to the sponsor of today's video, Surfshark VPN. I also want to give you a quick word of caution about some of those free VPNs that are popping up out there. While they may work, just know you're seriously rolling the dice because they may be selling your personal data or worse. But Surfshark VPN, on the other hand, has a no logs policy, meaning they don't even store records of your internet activity. So don't forget, visit surfshark.com/Bussy and get 4 extra months of Surfshark when you do. Oh, and there's no risk in just trying it out because Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee. And lastly, I want to give an extra special shout out to Mike G. Coleman, K-Boy, and Your Majesty, who've all just joined my Patreon at the hot and hottest hats tiers. And Ashton, Felicia, Matthew Burns, and Will and Tana, who were all supporting me at my Bussy Queen Collector tier at patreon.com/Bussy Queen. See y'all later. Love ya. Bye. And she's got on a little fucking god my